Hey guys, welcome to another Rebel Short. Today we have the esteemed Matthew Hearn from Movement Crew joining us. Matt is an international weightlifting coach with over 13 years of coaching experience. He's coached athletes from beginners to international champion athletes. He's putting some medals around people's necks, and it's really good to see the growth there. He's worked and learned from the best coaches all around the world during his travels, and has combined this knowledge to create a particular lifting system that has yielded some incredible results in the athletes he's worked with. He's, as we said, the owner of Movement Crew CrossFit and Movement Crew Weightlifting. Welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started. I know originally you and Dwayne ran Figure 4.
So yeah, I started working for Dwayne many years ago at Figure 4. So that was could be about 15 years ago. And then slowly just worked my way into managing the place with him. And then he moved over to Nasna, and then I took over the gym full time and just been focusing on making everybody better.
Lekker. And I think you've really evolved as a coach and an athlete, and you've done a hell of a lot of things in your lifetime. I know Figure 4 started as primarily, it moved to a CrossFit gym, and that's where it really started.
We were MMA when we started, so mixed martial arts, and then it moved over into CrossFit, and then we slowly started introducing weightlifting, and then now this is where we are today. Almost full-time weightlifting, full-time CrossFit.
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. You own Movement Crew CrossFit.
Yeah.
But a little bit about all the other coaching you do. I know you're the South African weightlifting coach. You're the man in South African weightlifting at the moment. We're seeing a lot of stuff, a lot of tours, a lot of exciting stuff.
I've been traveling for weightlifting 5 years now, traveling with the teams and all the athletes for South Africa. So that's been pretty cool. We still focus on CrossFit, but we focus on lifting a lot in CrossFit. So most of our CrossFit's based around lifting. We've got lifting, and then CrossFit will kind of tie into that full loop.
Okay, awesome. And I think that's really what's so unique about CrossFit is you can train at many different boxes, and the experience is different.
It's different everywhere.
Yeah, But you've been predominantly in the South for many years. Tell us how that gym's evolved. I know you did a lot of strongman stuff. You've got some really great athletes that are training at your gym, from strongman to weightlifting. How did that all evolve? And
so in the beginning we coached. Like I said, we coached CrossFit. Then we started introducing. We got Darren Anthony in to come and start coaching weightlifting about 13 years ago. And then we slowly, one of my other mates, Keelan, came to me and he was like, I want to win SA Strongest Man. So I was like, well, I guess now we're doing strongman. We're just evolving into what we can find.
Yeah.
So we trained together for 2 years, and he won SA Strongest Man, and then he moved over to Africa. So Africa's Strongest Man, and then now he's traveling the world also, lifting overseas. So he's competing with the overseas guys for strongman. And then through weightlifting, I used to weightlift a lot, and the federation kind of took a dip a few years ago where you couldn't get to the next level. There was barriers that you were always fighting against to get to the next level. So I thought the best thing for me would to be take a step back from weightlifting and just slowly start to work on how to get athletes to where they need to be, coaching them, fighting for them behind the scenes, getting them onto the international platforms, and we've made it.
Yeah, you're traveling a huge amount. It's really exciting to see that we've got so many weightlifters competing on the world stage again, which is really, really awesome. Tell us a little bit about the fight and the behind the scenes and how that works. I think it's always very difficult, and for people that aren't involved, to understand how the federations work and the hoops that everyone has to jump through to get to an international competition. It's not as simple as going, hey, I'm signing up for Pretoria Throwdown this weekend. I'll catch you there. Next year. Yeah. I mean,
So to jump into those competitions and stuff overseas, you first have to qualify. Qualifying totals are set up by the federations, so you have to set up the qualifying totals. Once you get your qualifying total, then you have to go on to ADAMS, which is anti-doping. You have to be on there for 6 months. Once you're on ADAMS, the hardest thing about ADAMS for athletes is they have to tell ADAMS where they are every single day. Every day, all day. If that's not up to date, they can't lift overseas. So if they go on holiday, they have to schedule when they're going on holiday, how many days they're gone for, where they're staying while they're away. So it pretty much consumes your whole life on what you actually have to start doing now. So to stay mentally with that, and then being in South Africa, you also have to have a full-time job. So you have to have a full-time job, concentrate on weightlifting, eating correctly, and make sure that you're filling in your ADAMS all day, every day, just to be able to be eligible to go overseas.
Yeah, that's a lot. Just to be eligible.
Just to be eligible to get there.
That's before you
then
start moving weight.
Then you've got the top 2 get to go first, and then everything is self-funded. So if the top 2 can't fund themselves, then the next people have to start funding themselves, and you'll go down the list. If there's 4 or 5 athletes that qualify, the first 2 get the invitation. If they can't raise funds to go, then the next one will get the invitation until there's enough members to raise the funds to go, because there's no funding from the top.
Okay, so it's all self-funded.
Yeah, there's a few that aren't self-funded. Like we've got the African Games. That's an IOC event, so that gets funded by the government. Commonwealth Games gets funded by the government, and the Olympics gets funded by the government. But all the others, like your championships and all that kind of stuff, those are all self-funded.
And I imagine you have to go to a certain number of events to qualify for Commonwealth and Olympics and all of those sort of things.
So Olympics, you had to do 5 events last year to qualify for the weightlifting for the Olympics, which I think only 2 South Africans could afford to do all of that. So, and they still didn't qualify because you had to be top 10. So even if you're into all 5 comps, you still might not qualify.
Do you have to be top 10 in all 5, or
just have to make one total that puts you in that top 10 bracket in the world?
Okay. So that's a big ask. That's a lot of strain. And I imagine trying to program for athletes and make sure that they can compete at that high level. What does the season look like? Is it an event every 2 months? Is it?
The other thing is you've got different seasons for different athletes. So like at the moment we're busy with the youth and juniors. They go to Kenya now. Then at the end of the year is Bahrain for some of the seniors. But before that we had the Masters in Finland. So you're trying to program for youth and junior, Masters, seniors. Everybody's schedules all different and all in different orders.
So everyone's on a different track.
Yeah.
Okay. And the talent coming through, are we heading in the right direction?
We definitely are. We're getting a lot of people that are starting to make waves in the industry. So if we think about, we did the African Games, weightlifting was 4th highest in South Africa for medals at the African Games, just purely to how many athletes we have and how well they're actually doing in terms of getting onto the platforms and podium.
Okay. And then, I suppose the next step up is Commonwealth. How many athletes have we got competing there?
We should have about 5 athletes that will make it. So they compete this year at the Commonwealth Championships, and then 2026 they're at the Commonwealth Games.
And then I suppose the dream is Olympics.
For most of them. Some of them are getting a bit old now, but for most of them that's the dream.
What's the sort of lifespan of an athlete if you're going to compete on that elite Olympic level?
So normally the athletes start to slow down at about 35, just purely to the speed of the sport. So your hips and the speed you need to generate through that. Most guys end up going to powerlifting because it's a little bit easier. But we do have masters and masters weightlifting that are also starting to take medals in those.
I saw there was Finland was pretty good.
Yeah, we just had 2 athletes now bring back silvers, so that was really cool. We're filling up all the categories. It's lekker to see.
And the youth, you're going to youth games now. What is the what does the sport look like for the youth, and how are the youth? You know, I know years ago I had a couple of athletes that I coached at UJ that had done some weightlifting at St. Stithians, but it's not a common sport that you find in the schools.
It's really not a common sport, and schools are struggling to grasp the concept. So we've approached a few schools, but they're just struggling to grasp the concept of weightlifting. Because if we could get it into schools, it would be way better to get the growth that we need. Right now we're sitting on, in my personal gym, I've got 5 athletes that are youth and junior, which is not a great number.
No.
If we want to grow the sport.
Yes.
So it's a tough one.
And is CrossFit still helping add to the weightlifting? I know in the beginning of CrossFit, weightlifting saw quite a big surge from that, just because everyday people were being exposed to weightlifting through CrossFit.
Everyday people from CrossFit end up in weightlifting too late.
Fair enough.
So all the youngsters will do CrossFit and they'll love CrossFit and they'll enjoy going to the CrossFit events and having the whole weekend of fun. But to get them to go into weightlifting is very challenging. But someone at the age of 30, 32, they want to dabble a little bit in weightlifting and test their strength out.
And it's a bit late.
Yeah, so we kind of get it. We have a lot of masters in South Africa.
Okay.
I think at the African Championships 2 years ago in Tunis, we had the oldest team at the event. Purely to the fact that all the masters love to lift.
Yeah, I suppose there's less risk of injury. It's a little bit less wear and tear on the body than CrossFit.
They can also sit down, eat sweets, train a little bit, chat a little bit.
It's quite social.
Quite social.
Okay, so explain to us a little bit about how your sort of everyday looks. You're obviously handling a lot of athletes from the national team. You're touring with them. How does that work? Do you touch base with those athletes every day? Are you managing the whole team in terms of what they're doing? How does the structure look?
So we've got different coaches around South Africa. They obviously coach all the athletes and that kind of stuff. Then we've got a few of us that are traveling with the teams. But all the personal coaches, once we get ready to go, they'll just send us information on how the athletes are doing and what the athletes are busy with and what numbers they're busy doing and how they're hitting them on the platform. It's pretty tough in South Africa to get training camps together because we've got some guys in Western Cape, some guys in Durban. They're all over. So to get them all into one place before we travel is pretty difficult. And funding for that wouldn't make it easy either. So we kind of have to just rely on all the private coaches, all of us coming together, chatting together, and then getting us moving forward.
Okay.
Into the same boat.
So there's no sort of, are we swimming in the same direction? Is everyone kind of, the methodologies and that sort of thing, does that make a difference to how it all fits in?
It's like CrossFit, bro. Everybody's methodology is different. We've all got the same base methodology, but everybody does their own little spin on how they do things. So weightlifting is, you need certain things to weightlift, but guys will do other little things around on the way that some coaches might agree with, some coaches might not agree with. It's a very touchy subject in weightlifting at the moment.
Fair enough. I imagine with many coaches comes many egos.
Many egos, many things that need to be put aside to work together. Also, they need to realize that we're not here to fight against each other. We're all here to work together to build the sport.
Yeah, I think that's important. We want to watch some South Africans on the platform at the Olympics. That's
all we want to see.
Exactly.
That's it.
So that'll be really cool to see.
Oh.
And you, how many athletes are you working with? What are you?
I'm now working with, I've got a few new masters. I don't know, since I turned 35, I don't know how that works. I turned 35, all of a sudden I got a full pool of masters athletes.
I mean, well,
this was our first year going to masters. So I think you just attract your age, I don't know.
You're more relatable now.
Yeah, I think so.
You're not the young gun.
Yeah, then I've got Laren and Liam, which are the top seniors now. So they're there. Then some of the other seniors are coming from other places in Joburg. So Rodney's got a very good senior, Will. He's going to Bahrain for the Worlds. That's going to be pretty good to watch. He's got a big total, so
Okay.
that's exciting for him. There's just everyone's everywhere in the federation. There's only a few that have made it to the top, and then the others are just enjoying themselves as weightlifting goes on. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, who was our last Olympian? I think Darren's been to.
Darren and them were at the Olympics. Darren and I think Mona also. Yeah. Darren,
Okay.
Many, I can't remember if even
It's a while ago though.
2016.
Okay, so Rio.
Yeah.
So it's about time we see some.
It's about time we see some new athletes out there.
Okay.
And we can get there. We can get there. It's not impossible. With our numbers that we're starting to put out now, it's not impossible to get there.
And what does a day look like? So for Laren, let's say, there's all the other drama and the Adams forms you've got to fill out, and you've got to be prepared to be woken up at midnight because doping controls knocking on your door to say it's time to pee. So apart from all of that sort of stuff, what does a day look like for one of these elite lifters? How much training are they doing?
So they come into the gym at about 4:30. I give them leeway on what time they can arrive there. Then they normally leave the gym at about 7. So they start training at about 4, leave the gym at 7. That's their whole training program each day.
And are they strictly lifting? Are they doing anything else?
So you strictly lift your first piece of the session. You'll either do snatch, clean and jerk, or just work on one of them separate. And then you start to work on accessories. So you'll do a main setup like a pull or a back squat or some kind of strength building aspect to it. And then afterwards you've got accessories. So box jumps, kettlebell swings. It's kind of like a mini CrossFit session, but not for time and don't get your heart rate too high.
And okay. And is that every day?
Every
these
day.
guys are training 7 days a week.
So they miss on a Thursday and then on a Sunday. The rest of the time
You
they're
train.
there for that many hours. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a pretty intense program.
And then some of the masters athletes, they train a little bit less. They like to just skip a few things, like accessories. They're like, okay, we're tired now.
I'm not doing that.
And they run out before the accessories finish.
And then nutrition-wise, I mean, I suppose it's quite important because of weight classes and weight categories.
So we're not too strict on nutrition for the guys, as long as they're just eating enough protein. That's our main goal. And then if we start to look at times when we're getting closer to comp, like 3 months before comp, we just make sure that they're in the right weight category. If they're out of weight category, we start to slowly drop weight so it doesn't affect them on the day. But 9 times out of 10, most of them sit, if you watch their videos, they got little jelly babies that they're eating while they're training, wine gums.
Okay, so they're sitting pretty comfortably in
Quite a nice
their
life.
category. Yeah,
Quite a nice life.
It's not.
Lift a weight, have a few jelly babies, lift another weight.
I mean, it sounds like something I should look into.
I think it's something you can get used
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Okay, so that's pretty intense though. When you're doing that much, plus you got to have a day job to fund these sort of tours. What does it cost? Let's say Bahrain for an athlete. What do they got to pay across?
I think Bahrain might work out to about 70,000 rand for the athlete, and then 70,000 rand for your coach,
Okay.
because Bahrain's quite expensive. When we went to Egypt, we ended up paying, I think it was about 65 for each of us to go. So they're not cheap. Thailand was cheaper. That was like monopoly money. That was
quite nice.
But most of the federations, so the IWF will set up a hotel that you stay in,
Okay.
and then you pay about $150 a night per person, and that includes your transport and your food. And then your competition you pay separate again.
Okay.
And then you got a coaching fee and then a doping fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coaching fee being you've got to pay to have a coach there.
You pay to have a coach, yeah. So your coach has to pay to coach.
Okay.
And yeah, you have to have your qualifications, do your thing, and then you're paid to coach, and then you coach.
Okay. So that's a lot of time.
Just
5 times a year.
5 times a year if you're going to go to the Olympics. If not, then you can just compete at the ones you want to compete at. But I mean, every time they want to do this, they have to fundraise.
And I suppose the more experience you get on the international circuit, the better.
Yeah, the better it gets, the easier it gets to get funding and stuff. Also, the better you get.
Yes. And the mental aspect of lifting, I imagine wouldn't it be great if you could lift it in the gym? We can walk onto a platform and it's there.
Just lift it.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's anyone that's ever tried weightlifting from CrossFit will know that it's really not the same. The weights that you lift in the gym don't always go up on the platform. The platform is very, very unforgiving. So like when you get up there, it's just you, and then you've got everyone else that's in front of you. And you go down, and as you look up, you just see all these people just staring at you. No music, no nothing, because everything switches off. It's just this blank room of nobody, and then you're trying to lift this weight.
What sort of work do you do with your athletes in terms of mental preparedness and that sort of thing, and how important is that?
So we do visualization training. So they visualize weightlifting before they weightlift, which is very important.
And do they do that at competition before
competition, before weightlifting sessions? So every day before weightlifting, I want them to visualize how their sessions are going to go, what they're going to do. We also do a lot of high lifting so they can get used to the loads and the weight, because mentally you need to be able to lift that weight a lot of times to be able to lift it for once on the platform. Like you can lift a weight. Lauren's training total in the gym is 210 kilos. That's snatch plus clean and jerk. But her actual weightlifting total is 203.
So she's training above her.
She's training above it in the gym, and she's landing her openers a lot in the gym. So we do it about 3 or 4 times a week when we're leading up to the competitions. So that when she gets there, she knows that the first weight she hits is one that's already in the bag.
Okay, and I suppose that's, from the coaching side of things, when you're guiding athletes in terms of what their opening weight should be and what the jumps look like, how does that work? And how do you just have a plan and this weekend this is what we're doing regardless of the competition, or does that play a part? You're going, well, we could get top 10 if we risk it. How does it work? How do you manage that?
It all depends on the competition, because I like to play the risky game on the competition. Coaches play a lot of chess when they're at the back there. Senior competitions are way more fulfilled with chess and that kind of stuff than masters competition. Masters competitions, guys normally have a set plan, they go in, that's their plan. But at a senior competition, the other coaches will try and take blood from you. They set numbers up, then they change numbers, then it's your turn, then you miss a turn, then you're trying to catch up with their numbers. And so there's a lot of conniving and stuff going on behind the scenes in weightlifting. What I try to do is just get the athletes ready for their first lift that we've practiced and we've planned. And then from there, I kind of don't tell them what I'm going to do next. I just ask them for feedback about how they're feeling, how was the weight, was it comfortable, did they enjoy their lift, and then get some feedback on determine
where you're going to go next.
Where I'm going to go next.
And how much time do you have to change? How many times can you change that? And
so your first change happens in 30 seconds. That's your first change. You get as the lifter finishes lifting, you have to make your first change within 30 seconds.
Okay.
After that, you've got another 2 changes to decide what weight you're going to use. So you've got 2 changes, so you can change once, then come back and change again. But you can go up, and then if you wanted to go down, you could only go down as far as the bar is. So if I put 120 kilos on the piece of paper, and the bar goes to 110, I can still go back down to 115.
Okay.
If one of the other lifters are bombed out, so I don't have to push my athletes to the limit. I can just play them safe where I need to be.
Okay, and would you know on a weekend where you're walking and okay, Lauren's the max I'm going to put on the bar is X.
I try to know that, but we have pushed way past that before, just purely to the fact that we wanted to medal.
Yeah.
In where did we go? In Ghana, we struggled with that because we missed the first 2 lifts, and on the 3rd lift, if we wanted to medal, we had to go up. So mentally, I had to prep her in the back, get her ready, and then send her out for that number that she didn't even know she was going to do. You just arrive and it's on the board, and that's it.
So do they know? Do you at least tell them before they walk out what that number is going to be?
It depends on the time. Sometimes no, sometimes yes. It just depends.
So they can just walk out, their eyes get real big, and they're like, it's time to go.
It all depends on the feedback of the athlete on the day. So you're kind of trying to figure out now, how does your athlete feel? If they're feeling good and as you're talking to them, they sound positive, they sound like they can, you can bump it up a little bit without telling them. If they don't sound so great, then you have to try to coast them into getting that weight. So you'll just slowly start to be like, listen, we're going to increase a little bit. We need this number. This is what we're going to do. Once you land this, it's the last lift of the day. Then we move on to the next clean and jerks. So you just have to kind of read the room as you go to the platforms. Yeah.
And I mean, so I suppose, so it's so important to compete more because you get better at doing those things as an athlete.
As an athlete and a coach,
performing under pressure.
The more time you spend overseas, the better you get. I remember the first time I coached in Morocco, I almost got into a fist fight with the Moroccan coach. Just because they were playing the field, I pulled out a challenger card, but a challenger card wastes about 5 minutes. So my athlete got to rest for 5 minutes. And then once Liam had rested, their athlete from Morocco missed their lift. But then they started blaming me because I pulled out the challenger card, and what do I think I'm doing? I'm new, yeah. Then there was just a riot.
So explain a challenger card. So what are the rules? How does this work? You go in, you put your first weight down.
You put your first weight down, your athlete goes out and lifts. If your athlete completes the lift, but then their elbow bends slightly, so you catch a snatch, boom, and your elbow bends, and that's a no lift.
Okay.
If you want to dispute that, you use what they call a challenger card. So you can throw a challenger card and that'll dispute. Then they have to go back, rewatch the footage, check, did his elbow bend, didn't his elbow bend. So some coaches use those just to buy time. Some coaches will actually use those because they want to check that it's another lift. That could have been a lift, that's not a lift. So depending on how the game goes, you just got to play it how you feel.
And how many challenger cards do you get?
1 per athlete, per 6 lifts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to be clever about where you use it. And how often do they get used?
Once every maybe 6 flights. So once every 6 different weight divisions, someone will just throw a random challenger card.
And you just happen to be that oak in Morocco.
But I use them quite more because I like to just the more time I spend there, and the more of the challenger cards and stuff I get, the more I start to use all my resources. Because if my athlete goes and misses a lift, and I throw a challenger card and they need to lift again, that buys them 5 minutes of time that they can rest. If I don't throw that card, they only get 2 minutes to follow themselves.
Okay.
So I try to use all the elements that I have to try and get the athletes the best results that they can get.
Okay, so it's a lot of strategy involved.
And the more time you spend on the international platform, the more time you realize on how you can do this and how you can manipulate the game and all that kind of stuff.
And I mean, competitions locally, like are there a lot of lifting competitions? Are your athletes lifting in competition regularly on South African soil? Or are you really only able to get experience internationally?
So there are a lot of local competitions. There's almost one every month or every other month.
Okay.
Most of the athletes that I take internationally, I then turn them into international athletes. So I don't allow them to compete locally anymore. I just let them go overseas and start competing, and then leave the locals to the local athletes. Because I mean, like, if you've got someone of Lawrence caliber weightlifting in the 71s every single competition in South Africa, then there's nobody else that you can grow to take over those spots. You've only got one athlete that's always lifting in the 71s, always winning in the 71s. I want to try to grow the sport into getting everyone to start winning. And the more people win, the more we can go overseas, and the bigger our overseas pool can get.
Okay, and the different. I mean, how big's the gap? If we start talking about so we're going. Laren's got a 203 total. You know, where are the rest of the ladies in that category? Are we close? Is there a push coming when Laren and them move on? Is there?
That's our main problem right now. So there's Laren, there's Will, there's Annika, and there's Ruben. And there's John Antoine. They're all at the level where their gap is too big. So we need to try to grow more athletes to close that gap or take over the gap so new athletes can start to rise. Because the gap between Laren and the next is like 40 kilos. And Annika and the next is like 40 kilos. So everyone in their categories, they all got like 40 kilo gaps that we need to try and close.
Yeah, I suppose it's a real hard one, because there becomes a time when it's just people think it's too far. But then if you don't have those athletes pushing that envelope at the top, then no one believes they can ever get there.
They can never get there. But what's cool is you take those athletes to like SA champs, and then the rest of South Africa get to lift against them. So they do their provincial champs, SA champs, and then everyone gets to lift against them and see what's possible, and then go overseas. Otherwise, if you do all the little local competitions, then I know if I was weightlifting and there was always one winner, I would be like, see, I'm done. I'm like 40 kilos behind the soak, and I'm never going to grow, you know. But if I've got a whole bunch of 4 guys that are all under that 40 kilos, but we're all like 5 kilos away from each other, we'll all push each other and grow together. So by the time we know it, we've all gained 10 kilos on our totals in the year, and then we're right next to those guys.
Yeah, I think that's the dream.
Hopefully we get there.
That's lekker. Well, that's interesting, and it's good to hear about that stuff, because we don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like it's a different side for me. I definitely don't know that much about weightlifting, and it sounds exciting, like more exciting than we should get like some behind the scenes cameras there, so we can see the fist fights and the challenge cards getting thrown down and the chess.
I'll take some footage when I go to Kenya now. I'll take some footage at that one, because the African competitions the senior competitions are also pretty hectic like that, and the juniors and youth between the coaches. Because once you're at that level, everybody wants to win.
Well, yeah.
There's no doubt. Like when I went to Masters in Finland, I even said to Georgia while I was there, I was like, it's very different here. Everybody wants to help you and be friendly, and everybody wants to chit-chat. And when you go overseas to the senior ones,
everyone's just trying to get athletes to the Olympics, to that next level.
We have to win, bro. Don't talk to me. Talk to me afterwards. Don't talk to me. Yeah, we have to win.
And I mean, and the world of weightlifting, is it who's the world power there? Is it still the Chinese?
The Chinese still at the top. That's the methodology we use when we're coaching. So they still there at the top. Who else is coming up there? Carlos Nassar's coming up. He's also cleaning up shop now. But those guys all there's only like 1 or 2 that always pop up out of the other countries. But I mean, China went to the Olympics, 6 athletes came back, 5 gold medals. So,
pretty good win percentage.
Pretty good win percentage for them. So they're still dominating.
And are we just too far behind? Do they just start so young? I mean, what is the secret sauce that makes...
Their development starts in school. Their development all starts in school. Obviously, I don't know what other stuff they got behind the scenes there, but I know that all their development starts in school, and their development grows. So when I brought them here about 6 years ago, I had this discussion with many and them that came here. They said that once they develop the kids in primary schools, then it'll they go to the next level, but they got different coaches for each level, and they all coach the same thing. So in primary school, they learn the basics of use a stick, and then they teach them the pull with a stick for primary school. Then they go to the next level, the next coach takes over the next role. So the coach before only teaches to a certain point. Then the next coach teaches from that certain point to the next point. And then by the time they get to college, that coach is teaching the full formula. And then the next coach will be the Olympic coach that takes them over and then moves them forward.
So it's all very well formulated,
Very
planned.
well formulated, very well structured. It's all set up like military style.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine for any sport, the younger you start, the better you get. I mean, we see it in CrossFit, I suppose, now coming through with all the teen athletes that are now moving into the senior levels, and soon they're just going to be so far ahead of anyone that if you haven't been a teen athlete, then you're in trouble. You just don't have the.
I thought about coming back and doing a Pretoria Throwdown, eh?
I mean,
and then I saw Masters was 40, and I was like, ooh, this might be tough to go.
But you like Pretoria Throwdown. Weights are heavy. You get to.
That's a weightlifting competition.
Yeah, you get to throw some heavy weights around. There's always at least one clean and jerk or something.
There's a weightlifting competition. That's it. No running, except for the 1 year I entered, and they made me run 5Ks.
But I mean, it's good to see you hurt a little bit every now and again. We don't want to just see you standing in front of a barbell.
I enjoy the barbell.
So tell us a little bit, like, if you want to get better at weightlifting, and don't just say lift more weights.
So it's not really lift more weights. It's more just practice the techniques and try develop actual weightlifting techniques. So a lot of techniques are taught, and they're taught in the way that's the quickest way to learn how to weightlift. So once you start diving into actual weightlifting, you realize that a lot of it has to do with balance, where the balance is on the balls of your feet, how to move through each position. It's a very technical, and it's very different to what most guys learn in the beginning. So if you wanted to get better at weightlifting, I would recommend just try to find someone who can teach you the actual techniques of weightlifting, and then move through those instead of just the quick basics on how to weightlift. You know, because you can teach a lot of guys how to weightlift in a group setting, maybe 30 guys, and it's not a wrong way to weightlift. It's a quick way to weightlift. So it's like there's a way to make a chicken sandwich, and then there's a way to make a deluxe chicken sandwich. So they're both the same. Both chicken sandwiches, just one is a little bit more advanced than the other.
And then, like, what would if you could give us a tip on each of the lifts, like something that like everyone watching us, like, what's going to help you the most in your snatch? What would you work on if you had to give me? And I'm a terrible weightlifter. What would you tell me to do in the snatch?
So first thing that I like to teach, and that gets the most result, is balance. Balance on the balls of the feet through the pool. That's the main technique that I would teach guys to get a better snatch, using the quads to activate and drive instead of your hamstrings. So thinking about all things like running, jumping, boxing, all kind of speed sports, sprinting, everything's done on the balls of your feet. And then we weightlift from the hamstrings, which
doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't give you the same speed and power output that your quads do.
Okay.
So that's quite an
important one.
Teach, yeah.
And you teach that from that first pull.
From the first pull, and then once you catch flat-footed, heels down to catch. But yeah, that's our main process is balance.
And that's across all lifts.
Snatch, clean and jerk. Even if you separate them, snatch, clean, jerk, everything.
Everything, just balls of feet.
Balls of the feet.
Use the quads. Speed.
Obviously, if you go to things like powerlifting, then it becomes different. Because now you're trying to incorporate more muscles, you're trying to get it deeper, you're trying to get a heavier squat, so you're pushing back onto the heels, trying to get more weight across more muscle groups, getting more fibers involved. So they all have their differences. And if you're doing CrossFit, if you wanted to get better at weightlifting, I would make all my movements in CrossFit the same as my weightlifting movements. So like deadlift, double hand over, balls of the feet, back squat high bar only, never do low bar back squats, because that will keep your chest up in the catch. I'm giving away all my secrets here.
It's good. We must make people better.
I'm giving away all my secrets here.
Okay, that's really interesting. And speed stuff, you essentially, your athletes, like, what do you use for speed? Are you using techniques from other sports to try and develop speed and fast twitch muscles?
Yeah, so we do all the usuals, the box jumps, the broad jumps, quick sprints, sled pushes, all the stuff that you can build up nice speed. Lots of power, so power cleans, those develop nice speed also. And then just focusing on the full lifts after that.
Exciting stuff.
Saka.
Make me want to
Okay. I'm going to see you later.
in the gym, throwing down. Matt, give us some tips. Anyone looking to get stronger, like everyday guy, he's in the gym, he wants to get a bit stronger in his lifts. What should he be doing?
Arriving at the gym, first of all, getting out what he wants to get stronger. So if you want to get better at your snatch or your clean and jerk or whatever, if you wanted to get stronger, I would recommend you just start with some good back squats, getting a strength program in. The stronger your legs, obviously, the stronger the lifts are going to get. So a nice 5x5, something like that. Something you can just come in quick and easy, warm up, do it, and then if he's doing CrossFit, join the class afterwards, or do that after class or whatever he needs to do, and just add a few strength things in. 5x5s are really nice. Squats, press, deadlifts, anything like that.
Just builds general strength.
General strength. 5x5 increasing each week. You'll automatically get a little bit stronger as we go.
There we go. Single biggest mistake you see people making when they're trying to lift heavier?
In weightlifting?
In weightlifting.
Oh, single biggest mistake. Rocking back to the heels, pushing the bar out in front of them.
There we go.
Using, this is for weightlifting, they say. Hips up, not forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So balls of the feet and keep the bar close.
Balls of the feet, keep the bar close. The minute you start to press your hips into the bar and you push the bar outwards, you get that kind of, it's a loop over, and then the bar just carries on.
Carries on.
You know, I see that often. That's one of the most common ones, is to bash the bar off the hip instead of allow just a smooth contact point as you generate speed upwards.
Lekker. We're going to do some quick fire questions. Favorite workout?
Fran. It's nice and quick. I have to stay with my heart rate up for long. Boom, in and out.
Nice and quick. What's your Fran time?
2 minutes 58.
Yes, sis. You're there, eh?
Yeah.
There's still a CrossFit comeback.
Yeah. I don't like Grace. Grace is a bit tough for me.
Why?
Because it just burns. I'm used to one lift, not a lot of lifts.
Favorite movement? Favorite lift?
Snatch.
Snatch.
100%.
Why?
It's just elegant. It's made for show. It's just a nice movement to watch.
You just look like a boss when you catch it.
For some people, it's like watching ballet. I love it.
Top tip for a front squat?
Brace your core. Keep your elbows up.
Top tip for a snatch?
Bad. This is a tough one. Balls of the feet. But I've given that one a few times today.
Top tip for clean and jerk?
Make sure that you don't keep your elbows in the same position as your clean as for your jerk. So bring your elbows slightly down before you jerk.
Okay. How do people get hold of you if they want to recruit your services for a bit of coaching and get a little bit better at weightlifting?
Instagram, Facebook, DM me, whatever. Find me everywhere. On my website, I'm all over. Come to Movement Crew.
Throw down.
We are in the south, so guys struggle to get there. But
it's dangerous in the south.
But you don't need a passport. Some people think you do, but you don't.
Depends on where you come. We're from the east, so it's not too bad. Quick. It's down the road. Lekker. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Sweet, bro.
It was really good to learn about the weightlifting world and how you're trying to change it. And I'm really hoping to see some athletes at the next Olympics.
Yeah, let's get some there. I'm keen.
That's
keen.
And I suppose the more you do, the better you get, and the more you learn. And
yeah, the best thing for CrossFitters is to just lift more. Lift more, stay consistent with your lifting, warm up with lifting sometimes, and just enjoy the movements. Snatch isn't really that bad. And a squat snatch, we can all do it. We just got to work towards it.
Lekker. Thank you, Matt.
Lekker, thanks for having me.
Thanks, bro.